for some sort of an all-in play. Could be an even crazier move, though, if they actually want to move Syndra down and play like Syndra as a mage support. This is pretty wacky, but there is still time to actually have things swapped around, so we'll see where FlyQuest does land and then kind of talk about it from there. But Ruin will be playing the Jayce, so he's going to have that ranged into melee matchup, trying to get a bit of an advantage up in that top lane. And then the rest is going to be very heavily drafting for the team fight. So as expected, we'll get swapped back. It is going to be that Pantheon support I was talking about. You do have some really, really strong all-in. Pantheon going to be bringing the Ignite. You can look to set things up, obviously, with the Pantheon targeted stun. There's really good gank assist for that Graves. You can block out a lot of the damage, obviously, with that, empowered E from the Pantheon, and you have execute damage on the Q there. So can be a really strong setup, and especially in combination with the Gravitum from Aphelios, you can have a stun into a root. The Graves comes in, and that buys time for him to get that damage out. So this is a very interesting setup that FlyQuest, is going to be going for.
Yeah, everything was standard until Pantheon support happened, and then IgNar clearly wanting to really bring the 2v2 and try and punish Bard, because Bard in lane can be good. It's very skill shot reliant, and I think, how you can play with a difficult champion in the lane, but of course Bard wants to get out of the lane. He wants to be influencing in other lanes, roaming around in team fights with his ultimate, portaling around the place. So anything you can do to punish Bard early is nice. So I do like that IgNar is willing to take something aggressive. Yes, it could have been something like Leona with Ignite, which may have fulfilled a similar role, but perhaps that matchup's worse. Whatever it is, I will trust IgNar to play an aggressive support into something like Bard, because this has been his thing for a very long time.
Yeah, it is something where, with that empowered E, Pantheon can actually, block tower shots too. So if the Bard is looking to roam, there was more of an opportunity perhaps to actually look for the tower dives onto Ezreal, who is generally safe in those 1v2 style situations. This is a really, really strong all-in type support. I will say, though, I do think that Pantheon is going to struggle come teamfight time. When you're going up against things like the Galio, like the J4, if you are not ahead, if you are not snowballing, it's very hard for a support Pantheon to just ult in on the other team without just getting CC'd up and instantly dying. You really are very reliant on the empowered E to block out as much damage as possible. So you've got to use that very, very well as IgNar here, because this is going to be a relatively under-leveled Pantheon. You are going to be very, very squishy if you're not utilizing that kind of immunity with your empowered E to the best of your ability.
Yeah, well, teams are out onto the Rift, and Galio and Bard are just exchanging looks there in the mid lane. Astronaut Bard just dropping some care packages behind the tower.
Oh, that's actually really interesting. So it looks like Bard then is actually starting W. And I believe that was a Bard, Astronaut Bard emote that was actually being flashed there by Pobelter. So if Smoothie is actually starting W, which is what it looked like it was behind him. I'm not 100% sure. It could have been Meeps, but if those were health packs, that is really going to help out Pobelter a lot. Those fully charged Ws are like almost a health potion. It's actually quite a lot of healing that can actually come down there. At rank 1, I don't believe it's going to be quite up to the level of health potion.
They're all there.
And yeah, there's 3 of them. So this is going to allow Pobelter to actually just trade his health to push, utilize the passive, tank those autos, push in, and then back off and have all of this additional healing to actually stay around in lane. So this is really, really interesting. It's kind of saying that bot side, they're not going to play heavily for level 1 anyway, if you're going to be defensively. And as you can see, it was 78 heals, so 2 of those is essentially 1 health potion. So it's about 1.5 extra potions that Pobelter did have, and he could just kind of trade his health for the early push, killed that first wave, collected all of those health packs, and now has gotten level 2, still has his potions available. Obviously, it is a trade-off on that bottom side. It's going to mean that Stixxay and Smoothie are going to have to be playing max range. You are not looking to trade. You are not looking to fight when you don't even have your Q. But as soon as they hit level 2, which Smoothie has now, actually got 1 minion early because he had been picking up some of those meeps, then they're back in a really good spot. And I think that's a cool adaptation to help out Pobelter in what can be a difficult early matchup. So I like to see that kind of innovation from CLG, and that's something that they used to be really well known for, is their level 1 preset plans. They were always so intelligent with that. So kind of cool seeing them go back a bit to their roots.
Yeah, I like it a lot. PoE there with a nice stun, but doesn't latch on with the second Dark Sphere. I mean, PoE is going Electrocute here, so very much trying to harass this Galio and lane. It is Cleanse instead. He does have to respect the taunt from Galio and, of course, the Bard Q as well. But PoB just knowing that he has to get through some of these early levels. Santorin, though, going to roam into the mid lane. Pobelter hugging the side of his jungler, which is smart, but a good stun's going to land. Jungler not coming out yet, though. He's bottom lane, that's why.
Yeah, so Wiggily showing up here on that top side does have the sweeper, so clearing out that vision. You know, if you are solo, you're assuming that Wiggily is then backing off, but you don't know for sure, so you always have to kind of play with the respect that there is a potential dive coming in, especially because they do have the push. Santorin now is going to be moving over towards that top side to try to cover for Solo on any sort of potential dive, but Solo is healthy enough, and we know that Wiggily is actually backed off to the Krug, so there's no real danger of that type of able to get a nice reset off here. He's a little bit of farm up. Thankfully, did have the additional Bard health packs there to help him out. And he is actually playing teleport, and I don't think he even needs to expend it. He can just walk straight back to lane, hold on to the TP, and he is going to be playing Spellbook more for the utility later on. You know, being able to pick up some of these additional summoner spells can be really impactful in the team fights that are likely going to decide the game for CLG.
Yep, nice deep ward there for IgNar, but yeah, Pobelter's back, doesn't need the TP, came back on a cannon wave, denied off a full wave as well, so looking good from just the little things early on in level 1, but bottom lane is kind of really where the spice lives with IgNar's Pantheon support, and I was curious about his keystone. I expected it to be something aggressive. It is Conqueror, so definitely looking for more of the extended all-ins rather than poking in and out with something like Electrocute.
Yeah, and one thing you've got to remember with Conqueror on Pantheon is how incredibly quickly you can stack it up, because your empowered W, which is generally how you actually, you know, open up a lot of these fights, you know, with the W, it counts as multiple attacks. So you actually get, you know, 3 quick attacks, I do believe, with that W, and then with, you know, essentially W, Q, auto, etc. You can basically fully stack that up very, very, very fast with kind of the autos being weaved in with those spells, and it makes it a really effective keystone for Pantheon because of how quickly you can stack it up.
Well, both junglers are here in the bottom lane. We just saw Wiggily. He's hiding in that brush just to the top of Stixxay and Smoothie. But Santorin also is here expecting maybe some action. But we'll see if anyone blinks first. IgNar again throwing Qs. Guardian's going to proc. And looks like nobody's going to budge here.
Yeah, and I feel like CLG, they would have liked the fight, but I feel like that was way too much of a tell. They were cheating so heavily towards that river brush, and that is such a giveaway that you're thinking, hey, my jungler may be here, my jungler is behind me. You know, as the side of FlyQuest, I think there's really very little chance that you try to look for that fight with the positioning that the Bard and Ezreal had towards that river brush. Either way, though, they did have Santorin warded out. They saw that he backed off, and that bot lane priority that they do have here early on is going to allow them to grab an early dragon. So very well done.
Yeah, just enough presence there for Wiggily to make sure his team gets that first trick. Solo trading here in the top lane with Ruin. This is Ruin's counterpick. As a reminder, it's fleet footwork here for Solo, trying to weather some of the poke here from Ruin's phase rush Jayce, but it looks like it's just farming right now in the top side with no junglers really coming up here, although as I say that, Santorin is in the area. At level 6, we'll see if Solo does want to fancy a dive. Here's Wiggily though, nice timing for the CLG jungler. Pull back in. Ruin is going to just try and push him back. That's an awful lot of damage. Here comes Santorin. Wiggily, though, going to try and make it happen, but he doesn't quite catch it. Here's Pobelter, though, zooming in and zooming out, I think, at this point. Wiggily is going to keep chasing, but starting to eat some shots and not quite in range for CLG.
No, not very well coordinated there by CLG, honestly. It felt like Ruin was a little bit too far forward. You know, Pobelter was roaming up, but they wanted to bait that a little bit harder, I think. Allow FlyQuest time to move in to try to more heavily commit to the dive, and then Wiggily needs to get further in on that flag and drag, try to create more space for Pobelter to have that successful ultimate. Instead, it just ends up being ultimate down, more farm going the way of PowerOfEvil, who didn't actually come. He picks up a turret plate also, which is going to be feeling really nice for him, and you know, FlyQuest doesn't lose much on that top side, going to be feeling really good about the series of events.
Yep, plenty of gold for PoE to go and spend as Stixxay TP's back down here to the bot lane. He does have a Sheen and a Tear, so charging up nicely for his early itemization, but it is a fairly slow landing phase so far, which I think we should expect from both these teams, with the exception of kind of their Cloud9 game. FlyQuest's early game has been very stable, and it's really in the mid game, and especially later on as they feel confident in their team fighting, where they've picked the pace up a little bit. CLG have had some long games, to put it lightly. So given the team comp they've drafted especially, there is no need for the teams to be rushing right now.
Yeah, and that's something that we actually saw in the Santorin interview a little bit early on. He talked about the fact that he often feels like they have a scaling advantage in their mid jungle, and in that comparison that Gabby was asking about, comparing himself to and PowerOfEvil, how they kind of match up with Blabber and Niski, for example. He talked about the fact that sometimes it's overlooked that they draft for scaling and are going even, right? And I do think this is a case where you can talk about a little bit of that, as I do think that Graves scales a lot better than the Jarvan towards the later stages of the game, towards the mid game, and they're gonna be feeling pretty happy about the fact that Santorin is just farming it out and feeling pretty comfortable with that. Jarvan does have a lot better ganking in the early levels, though likewise CLG not going to be feeling too uncomfortable as their team comp is much more about the 5v5, much more about the hard engage, and that's kind of why you have this Jarvan Galio combo.
Yep, if you give up Graves to Jarvan, you certainly have a plan. As our Rift Herald does go over to FlyQuest, and Santorin going to go ahead and pick up the eye. See when he wants to drop it. It does seem like the wave is prepared in top lane. Although, going to take the Scuttle Crab first because he's a jungler, he must farm. Especially on someone like Graves. Wiggily, though, clearing some brush out. Again, no need to really rush things.
Yeah, nothing too crazy going on. But you do want to see teams be proactive, when their abilities are up. Obviously, CLG, first time their ultimate was available for Galio. They did try to go to the top side, didn't work out. And that ultimate is almost back up. That's kind of why you see Pobelter cheating back up towards the top side. And it's also why you see FlyQuest with this investment of vision along that path, because they know Galio has to move up towards the top side before he's going to be in range of the ultimate. That is why those wards were kind of littered along that path to try to catch him cheating up towards Ruin, so they could be very much aware of when Solo has to back off or be scared of a Pobelter roam. But with CLG clearing those wards out, that does always get a little bit more frightening, and I think we're going to see Solo playing fairly defensively here for the next minute or two.
Mash is going to let it rip. Gravitum ulti down onto the Bard. Good buffer there from Stixxay to get himself out from IgNar's stun. Santorin is here ready to drop the Herald at a moment's notice, but looks like they'll just take control of this Drake pit for now. 40 seconds till the Ocean will be spawning.
Yeah, I think that was a smart early flash from Smoothie. This is kind of the combo I talked about earlier on in Champ Select. You have that Gravitum, you have the root to set up the Pantheon or to follow up on a Pantheon engage. In this case, they did use Aphelios' ultimate to land that Gravitum ult on Smoothie to land the root. Smoothie flashed very early, though, before he even got rooted, so that there wasn't much of an opportunity for FlyQuest to follow up on it, because if he does get stunned up and Graves comes in, all the damage that comes through may be too much. And, in this case, yes, you lose your summoner, but you stay full health, and you can actually stay around in lane and defend against any potential dragon take, any potential dive. So they're going to be feeling, pretty good about their summoner usage.
Yeah, Wiggily is spotting Santorin. Also, Pobelter ready with ult number 2. There is a little bit of vision here for Fly on the left-hand side of mid, but the rest of CLG are ready to fight for this. Looks like a battle for vision is beginning in the river.
Yeah, it does feel like this is one that FlyQuest wants to fight over. CLG went for a very early dragon and was able to get it. But I don't think FlyQuest want to give up another dragon here for free. Allow them to get to that very quick 2. But Smoothie and Wiggily look like they're preparing to actually jump in here on Mash and IgNar if they step a little bit too far forward.
Stixxay low on mana also without TP could make this a bit problematic. But it looks like FlyQuest have backed off for now. Ruin also getting aggressive in the top side. Solo going to miss that face breaker. And Smoothie and Wiggily going to fight for this crab, but here's Santorin ready to challenge. Does smite it away.
Yeah, nicely done there by Santorin. Grabbing the crab is going to really help them out with any potential team fight that does break out, and getting the crab is actually giving them confidence to pull this dragon. They know that Stixxay did base, they know he didn't have TP, so they're going to just try to finish this off before CLG can actually get in place, and so Smoothie is going to ult the dragon, trying to delay to see if they can get here in time, but I still think it's going to be too little too late.
Oh, it's close, but smite is good from Santorin. Stun now landing in onto Wiggily. He's going to have to take the portal out. The Syndra ulti not enough, but first blood to IgNar as he flashes in for that Q as top lane. It's all let loose here. Good ult from Solo. Ruin going to try and knock him back and maybe look for the re-engage, but just a trade of blows and no one falling yet, but still the Drake and the first blood do go to FlyQuest.
Yeah, well done by FlyQuest, and I think that CLG had to make the call to just give that dragon up. When Stixxay is not there, yes, I get the idea of trying to delay with the Bard ulti, trying to set up and hope that the Ezreal can arrive and then Galio J4 can go in, but FlyQuest was too well aware of the base timings here. They knew that Ezreal was very, very far, and they just rushed this down. And yes, you hit that Bard ult, but look where Ezreal is. He's not even at his tier 2 on the map still. So really your only chance was just getting that True Shot Barrage steal. And if that is the case, Wiggily and Smoothie need to not even be close. They need to be way further away because it ends up being essentially a free first blood given over. You do trade flashes, you get the Ignite out, but you know CLG shouldn't be too happy about how they played out that dragon fight.
Yeah, IgNar, I think more than happy to trade his flash for the first blood there. Stixxay going to get some plates down here in the bottom side. Has gone back for the Manamune and the Sheen. But Mash ready with the BF sword. Not going to be too disrupted here in the bottom lane. Luden's also done now for PoE. So starting to see those first items come to fruition. And FlyQuest happy with their 1,200-1,300 gold lead. They got most of the plates, they got their first blood bonus money, and Solo and Ruin are still battling up here in the top lane. Here comes Pantheon though, there's Galio to answer with the roam, and now IgNar gonna get taunted up. He's got no flash from last time. Saves himself a lot of damage, but not enough to not be killed by Ruin.
Yep, no flash available there for IgNar, and he ulted in, but CLG was very ready for that one. And I think FlyQuest did a poor job of actually tracking where Pobelter was, and that's not even a play you really need to go for. Solo has been doing great in the 1v1. He has been playing largely weak side, as this is going to be a pretty close fight. Solo's got to get out there now, though, with Pobelter here.
Yeah, oh, flash taunts in, knows he's got the range ready to go, and that's a kill for Ruin, actually. Finds the snipe with the Q, I imagine. Santorin, though, trying to chase down Wiggily. Tempered Fate's going to try, and it's close from Smoothie, but it's not enough to save POB.
Yeah, very well played there by Santorin, sidestepping that Bard ultimate. They're going to lose their tower off of this also, so traded back well by Santorin and PowerOfEvil. The initial play, I do think, was a little bit silly by FlyQuest, to be honest. When you don't know where Pobelter is, you don't know if Galio is in range, sending up IgNar for that Pantheon ultimate with no flash, no way to actually get out, seemed a little bit brazen, and they were punished for it, but it does end up working out pretty well on the eventual play as Pobelter getting out of that mid lane up towards the top side. Man, PowerOfEvil just had so much free time to grab that first turret gold for himself, get this Syndra ahead, and Santorin was even able to trade back a kill.
Yep, gonna make it Rift Herald number 2 as well for themselves after taking that bonus turret gold as well. So getting all the bonus gold for FlyQuest. They're up 2k now, and they've evened up the Drakes. It is Cloud Rift for this particular game. But Santorin will be looking to knock down another tower, you have to think, because he does take the second eye. Stixxay also working on his own tower trade in the extended play down here on bottom lane, but IgNar with a Hex Flash getting frisky.
Yeah, Hex Flash plus that Nimbus Cloak perhaps there. You know, it looked like he was getting pretty fast, but I'm not even actually sure. Wait, you know, that wouldn't make sense because he wouldn't be able to have both those if he is Conqueror primary. So maybe just the animation, not a Nimbus Cloak, excuse me. But here is the play back up on this top side. Solo scrapping it up here with Ruin. He knows that IgNar is in position, but they lost sight of the fact that Galio had moved up the river. And Galio comes in, they don't have enough damage to actually burst Ruin down. IgNar is an easy kill because he committed his flash for first blood down on that bottom side. And then in the extended play here, this is where FlyQuest really does start to get more out of it. Yes, Solo moves forward and CLG want to punish that. They did get that eventual kill, but they lost their mid lane turret in the process. They traded the kill back over to Santorin in that process, who has been farming away very diligently. And IgNar with a little bit of an oopsie there.
Ooh, Tempered Fate hits onto Mash. Gonna land the True Shot Barrage. The latch is very good there from Smoothie and Wiggily. Oh, he's not in range for the dunk. Or he didn't have vision, but whatever it was, he wanted to ulti, I can tell you that much. And now Mash is gonna take out Smoothie. Oh no.
Oh, not like this, CLG. Just when people start believing in them, it's counter logic gaming, baby.
Yeah, Rift Herald dropped in top lane as well, so Solo is able to take the tower down in top lane. Oh, it looked so good until it didn't.
You hate to see it happen, man. That is just one of those really terrible moments for team morale when you're making a play on bot side and you have the advantageous play, you have the man advantage. You die to the tower. On the top side, you're losing a tower. Now they're going to get the dragon. It's just like, oh no, mental boom.
This is the insult after the injury, I suppose. It's going to be Cloud Drake for FlyQuest. With no contest available for CLG. Still, game's fairly close. 3,000 gold they have in there for FlyQuest, which is a significant lead, but certainly not without CLG having the ability to move back in.
Yeah, I mean, I think CLG does have a pretty strong composition, and there are some pretty squishy members over on the side of FlyQuest. A lot of it is just going to come down to can CLG actually nail those engages, because if you can get on top of champions like the Aphelios, like this Pantheon, lock them down with that J4 Galio combo, then Shock Blast comes in, Ezreal ulti comes in, and all of a sudden things are looking pretty good.
Gonna slap down IgNar with some meeps here. Also additional damage done by Stixxay. Getting his tower is going to be the other big thing. I think they'll get this bottom outer tower, especially with Wiggily down here now. But one of the things that happens is, outer towers are often assumed an assumed thing that, like, we'll get this, we'll get the gold, and we'll get some map control back. But when you don't take those towers, the game goes from like, oh, this feels kind of bad, but like we're within distance, to like, I don't have any plays to do because I don't have room to make plays around the map. A solo, speaking of. Onto Ruin he goes. Facebreaker, Haymaker. Ooh, nice little thundering blow there to get out of the way, but Ruin again. Been managing this matchup just fine. Actually pretty healthily ahead in CS right now as well.
Yeah, Ruin is up in farm, thanks in part to the multiple Galio ultimates that went up there and kind of the attention paid to him from his team. But I've got to say, Solo's been doing well. If you're playing, a melee matchup like the Sett into Jayce, then you're going to be feeling pretty happy as long as you're not kind of getting run over. He did keep his tower alive. He actually, took away the Jayce's tower, was trading well, and for the most part staying very even in farm until he did actually get killed off. So I think Solo has done a commendable job up there, and should be pretty happy with his position, as Pobelter potentially could get dove here.
Yep, ganking the global. I like it a lot, Pobelter. IgNar's going to go in to start things off. He does get the taunt onto Santorin, but too much damage and can't get out of there. The Justice Punch will only delay the inevitable, as FlyQuest will take the kill, and more importantly, that third tower as well. There was the answer in bottom lane. It did finally come through for CLG, but starting to lose these trades as CLG will counter-attack here in mid. Solo, though, with the rest of his team charging in, will not be too worried about being able to defend this tower. Instead, Ruin's going to try and get the trade for the top lane outer.
IgNar gets to show off that Pantheon tower diving, starts it with that W, landing the stun, and then he just backs out to maximum turret range, waits until the last shot would actually kill him, uses his E to block out that turret shot damage, and it just becomes such an easy dive to pull off. Pobelter has no opportunity to actually trade back for a kill because the turret is just focusing that Pantheon the whole time, and now will be a stolen blue buff here for Wiggily. So nicely done there from CLG to take a little bit away from FlyQuest, but FlyQuest really feeling like they are fully in control. 3,500 gold ahead. They have grabbed the last 2 dragons of the game, and going to be looking to continue to build on that towards that potential Dragon Soul.
Yeah, 3,500 gold up now, in part thanks to Masher. Actually pushed through for the tier 2. Had enough bullets in the crescendum, apparently, to get that tower despite the wave dying, so knew there was no threats. Just a really smart decision to take a little bit of extra gold and control off the map, and now FlyQuest looking very good around this upcoming dragon in 1 minute and 40 seconds, but CLG starting to realize that, okay, we've got the 2 outer turrets in the side lanes, we can start working mid, we do want to fight for this upcoming dragon.
Yeah,
again, it is about the execution, like you mentioned.
Exactly. They're trying to group early and land some poke here. Utilize the Ezreal Jayce to actually land poke and then go for the hard engage, and here they go.
Ooh, IgNar trying to get ruined, but Stixxay's going to chase him with Solo right behind him, and it's time to dunk the Ezreal, Wiggily, and Pobelter, though, in the middle of the team fight, but can't fight off the Syndra and the Aphelios. IgNar low, but not dead just yet. Now Solo is going to find a 3-man facebreaker on the other side and dump him over the wall into the slow. Ruin's still alive, but Bard dead, Pobelter down. FlyQuest just finding that team fight through the enemy walls.
That was so well done by FlyQuest. IgNar and Solo just zoned out both the damage dealers of CLG. So Stixxay and Ruin were never part of that hard engage. We saw Smoothie, Wiggily, Pobelter flying in on top of these damage dealers. But when you don't have the follow-up on that engage from your Ezreal and from the Jayce, you don't actually have enough damage in that first punch to take anyone down. So Syndra, Aphelios, and Graves, that were the 3-man squad over there in that 3v3, win the extended fight so incredibly easily. And I think that team fight really so much credit deserved by those frontliners, by IgNar, by Solo for sectioning off the damage dealers of CLG and really making that a very easy fight.
Set up nicely by IgNar, and Solo is just ready to catch him on the other side of the wall when they blinked over to try and kill the Pantheon. Certainly be a fun one to maybe see again, but PowerOfEvil's letting it loose on Stixxay. See you later.
Ouch, she just got absolutely slammed. Was rushing early armor to deal with all his physical damage, but now on base buys Nagus. He's like, please, Nathan, save me. Anyone?
Love me some good Syndra gameplay. Santorin is going to take the third Drake, put FlyQuest on soul point here as the game has started to open up in FlyQuest's favor and then some. About 5k ahead now.
Yeah.
Can start thinking about the Baron. They'll have a huge threat in 5 minutes when that dragon respawns.
I mean, just look at the item completions coming through here. You know, IgNar already has his lethality item. He has that Umbral Glaive to be able to help with vision control. You can see 2 completed items on jungle, 2 completed items on top. Death Cap done, you know, for PowerOfEvil. He's on 2 items. IE done for Mash. He's on 2 items. So they have these really expensive item builds that they are already kind of completing. And FlyQuest is just in such a comfortable position at this point. CLG has not been able to get a really good coordinated engage, and that is what they're going to need. And honestly, if it goes on too long, you're not going to be able to even be at the point where you can win a fight if you find that engage. You know, some of the luxury items are going to start to come through. You can see Mash as a stopwatch as well as the cloth armor, likely going to be building towards a GA. You're going to be seeing more of those defensive items coming through from FlyQuest to just kind of eliminate the only possibilities CLG has of a teamfight victory.
Yep, certainly we'll be looking at Wiggily and Pobelter. I mean, this is the combination you drafted. Certainly is like your first step in finding a successful team fight. Certainly Smoothie can help set it up as well, but whatever it is, it needs to be coordinated by CLG. They put stock in their team fighting this game, and they'll have to deliver in 3 minutes and 42 seconds, if not sooner. But CLG are at least getting some room made here in mid lane. 4-man push here into mid is going to do some damage, but probably not enough to take it. IgNar going to threaten there with the Hex Flash. CLG want to stay for this tower, but the response has already come in. It's just a little too risky.
Yeah, I mean, they know they're in a position where they're pretty significantly behind, and that FlyQuest, if they find a flank with Solo, if they find that engage with IgNar to follow up on, that CLG is not only going to lose a team fight, at 24 minutes you're going to lose a team fight, you're going to lose the Baron, and then the game is probably over because you're already down 5,000 gold. So CLG knows they have got to be very, very careful, pick their moment, and really nail the engage on it, or this game is going to be quickly out of reach.
Yeah, Stoneplate done for Wiggily, so we'll perhaps live a bit longer to give Galio time to charge in, but FlyQuest, again, very methodical team in a lot of ways. Very consistent. Solo maybe in trouble. In they go. Ruin gets the slowdown with a thundering blow. Solo going to be forced to flash away. Charging a haymaker up. They're trying to bait it out. Ruin with a very nicely played bit of patience, but True Shot barrages. No, it isn't enough. Solo walks back into it, and Stixxay finds a snipe. Now it's a 5v4 around the Baron.
Yeah, now CLG can maybe force something. They actually played that very well, waiting out a lot of that haymaker shield, so it was expended on Ruin. Then the Ezreal ultimate was still there. We'll see CLG. Do you have the confidence to actually start up this Baron? It is a 5v4. This could be a game-changing play if they're willing to go for it, but you can't just have Ruin tanking this. He's going to get too low, so they're going to engage.
Good 2 knock-up. Oh, Mash actually going to get Tempered Fate. Here comes Galio, charges in, finds knock-up onto 2. IgNar getting low. Ruin's going to take him down as Pobelter's already in there, and he goes golden! Shuts down there onto Santorin as CLG. We asked for a team fight, and they delivered. It's just the carries left alive now.
They're so low, though. Ruin here very, very low on HP. Pobelter very low on HP. Remember, there's not really a tank for CLG to actually go to the Baron. So they will be dissuaded from taking that Baron. They get a couple kills. Very nice for CLG. You know, 3 kills, I do believe, in that extended trade. This is after that solo pickoff in mid lane. They know they can't just sit on the Baron and tank it up for too long. Any sort of poke that does land from PowerOfEvil could spell disaster, so they go in with the ultimate. The Bard ult lands on Mash to delay. Pobelter and Wiggily come over top, then Pobelter just flashing into the back line, landing a taunt on multiple members straight into that Zhonya's Hourglass, has the teamfight build ready to go with the Proto Belt plus that Zhonya, so they pick up a couple kills. And then they've got to retreat. They know they don't have the health and the damage to really knock down that Baron quickly, but CLG's showing off what this composition can do, and FlyQuest has got to be very, very careful about this, but they are going to be the ones who know when CLG will engage next, because this next dragon in 50 seconds, that is sole point for FlyQuest. So as long as they're set up in this area, as long as they have vision, it's really, really difficult to replicate those kind of team fights for CLG.
3 items now for both Stixxay and Ruin, though, so we'll feel a little bit more empowered in the upcoming fight. But CLG will certainly have to work pretty hard to retain any control of this area. They are pushing up mid right now, but they have no vision whatsoever in the river. In fact, FlyQuest will make sure that stays true as they clear out that ward very quickly. Trying to bait them in here, but FlyQuest kind of, I think they're looking for a pick.
it's just going to be this battle for mid lane pressure, right? They both want to get the wave going their way. That allows you access to the Dragon Pit to get vision. FlyQuest very clearly wants to fight over this. They're trying to defend these pink wards pretty heavily, but the engage coming in.
Hit smash. Q, though, not really easy to land. True Shot Barrage gets a tickle, but not enough. PoE lets it rip on a Ruin. See ya! As Wiggily dives in, and I think ill-advised dive is a good latch there from Smoothie. Will protect the rest of his team, but they just lose Ruin instantly to PowerOfEvil.
The positioning was honestly so good for FlyQuest, despite the good Bard ultimate from Smoothie, catching Mash on the edge of that ult. His frontliners stepped forward, threatened the Bard, so Smoothie couldn't actually follow up with the Cosmic Binding onto Mash. There was no way he could actually get there. And then Ruin, who was trying to maintain control of that mid lane, just gets absolutely blown up by PowerOfEvil, who's at such a strong point in the game. You can see no MR whatsoever over on Ruin. The Death Cap, the Void Staff, the Ludens already complete, in addition to those Sorcerer's Boots. So PowerOfEvil is ridiculously strong, had rank 16, level 16 rather, for that rank 3 ultimate. And Syndra is pretty much going to blow up any of the squishies on this team.
Yep, and Ruin certainly qualifies as a squishy. I mean, Pobelter potentially in certain situations will also qualify if there's
if he doesn't have
his shields down. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, if you have your Zonias, then you can use that on the ultimate. But if you don't, he could definitely get 100 to 0'd by the Syndra. There's only really Wiggily who is safe because he has a significant amount of MR. Even Smoothie potentially could get comboed down. Yes, he has some health from the Deadmans, but health isn't going to be enough to keep you safe when PowerOfEvil is this fed and this high level. I mean,
very
he's
relative.
Six levels above the sport.
Yeah, very relative term. At this instance, PoE is certainly very powerful. They did lose the Soul Dragon, by the way. That one was pretty inevitable. They do check the Baron. They see the control ward, but likely suspect that someone from FlyQuest is hiding in a brush. We see Mash and PoE there. The bait. Tempered Fate not going to connect, and CLG don't really have anything else to go in, but here's Wiggily looking for the flank on the Mash. Stoneplate not popped yet. He's almost dead, actually. The Galio ult is going to charge in, but Mash doesn't mute it. The chase is on, though. The taunt is going to be lined up for POB. He waited for the flash solo in, though, to try and defend the teammates, and the Haymaker is massive, but Pobelter has lived for so long as solo finally gets killed by Stixxay, who's forced to blink in, but he's going to fall as well. IgNar with a great stun there as Ruin does get the trade, but it's 3v2 now in favor of FlyQuest.
Very close fight, actually. CLG does go down one member, but you would think FlyQuest would have won that even more handily. Mash did a good job actually absorbing a lot of that engage, and it was able to kind of kite back and survive from Pobelter and Wiggily. CLG couldn't get their damage dealers again back to Mash, and he did a good job of timing the stopwatch on that Galio ult and really just kind of surviving there. So despite the fact that it is a relatively close fight in terms of numbers, Mash can burn through this incredibly quickly with that Graves. They're going to be able to two-man the Baron. PowerOfEvil is zoning just in case Wiggily was coming over to check, but not even sure that there's anything CLG can do about it, even if they knew. Yep,
Krishan's the real deal when it comes to taking down static objectives, and Mash and Santorin able to very cleanly two-man that Baron with a bit of assistance from the defense of PoE. So all the objectives have been sliding in favor of FlyQuest as I watch this one again. It was close.
Yeah, it was close, and honestly, Mash with the additional move speed from that Cloud Soul did a good job, but over the wall, Wiggily comes in, Mash sidestepped the flag and drag there, but then the dunk goes over top. You can see the stopwatch from Mash here, immuning that Galio ultimate, then the Jarvan ult also expired, so Smoothie didn't actually have the ability to Q him to actually land that Cosmic Binding on anything. But at the same time, Stixxay and Ruin have been fighting this out very well. Stixxay flashing forward to finish off solo to try to trade back a kill, but is engaged on. IgNar came back into that fight. He was really low on health, but he ulted in, he used the Bard portal, and was able to find that stun on Stixxay that allowed him to finish him off.
I mean, we talked about how strong PoE is. I thought Wiggily didn't use Stoneplate that last team fight because of how quickly his health went down. He used it. It just still went down that quickly to the Syndra ulti.
Aphelios things. Or Syndra, yeah. So, and now it just gets harder, right? Stopwatch is now completed for PowerOfEvil, so that is going to make him harder to burst down. The Death Dance is done for Mash. He'll likely go towards a PD next also.
All right, this is the only layup CLG you're going to get. It is going to be Santorin. That's a big kill to get. And they will finish it off their Ruin with the last hit, but by their forces combined, they do get one, but Baron's not up. In fact, they still have the buff. CLG chasing the rest of FlyQuest to try and get them off their towers.
Still CLG finding ways to fight back, looking for picks, trying to find those engages where they can get them. Did seem a little bit silly that Santorin, was so separated from the rest of his team. They had this 3-man squad pushing up on top side. Didn't really have eyes on most of CLG, and he does get engaged on and picked off. His flash is also going to be down. Mash is down summoners too from the previous fight, so it does give CLG some hope that if you can find that proper engage with flashes available on Wiggily, on Pobelter, on Smoothie, that maybe you can burst down one of those carries and have something happening in the fight. And they're actually TPing Pobelter from behind.
No.
Look.
What a bait, man. IgNar just looking juicy, and PoE just gets the kill. Match is low, though, so now it's going to be a trade with the Galio ulti. Rides in. Good immune there from PoE, but IgNar not going to be so lucky. Solo is here. Damage is massive, but IgNar still fighting it out. Stixxay, they're able to get 2, make it the 3rd over to Ruin as they find 4 as well. PoE, the only one left alive, and CLG starting to come online.
Yeah, really well done, honestly. I mean, CLG playing that out well, but also FlyQuest, I think, are just not respecting CLG. Your jungler is dead, who just got picked off, honestly, pretty randomly around mid lane. Then, instead of actually waiting for Santorin to be alive to take vision around this Elder Dragon that's going to be spawning, they just kind of wandered in there against this hard engage comp, down members, and they get punished, rightfully so. I do think that CLG is doing a really good job just not backing down, and it feels like FlyQuest is expecting CLG to maybe roll over or just forgetting about their ability to still engage, but they have given away some sloppy deaths, and there are still chances for FlyQuest to lose this game. If CLG are able to get Elder, well, during that time frame where you have the Elder buff, it is more powerful than the Cloud Soul, so they have got to respect what CLG can do and play this out intelligently.
Yeah, Pobelter going to finish off this crab. Oh, just misses the Justice Punch, but no harm, no foul. Elder Dragon is up and available, though, and FlyQuest are almost all grouped back together. We know that there's a carry by the Raptor Pit, but CLG don't know that just yet. Expecting a 5v5, and it will certainly be at this point as both teams look to retake control of mid.
Okay, so we'll be just pushing out mid here. Both teams have kind of cleared that out. CLG, though, on the side here, could look for a Cosmic Binding from Smoothie. If you can find it on the proper targets, that can be used to start it off. But Ruin and Pobelter are segregated. They're split up.
Good double taunt from POB, but who's really getting engaged on? Forced to stasis fairly early. Solo going to dunk him back in towards the team, but Wiggily trying to dive PoE. Mashlo takes down Pobelter. Wiggily dives in, traps a bunch there in the Jarvan ulti, but PoE is able to take down Stixxay, and I don't know if they've got the damage to finish off the rest of the fight. It's Wiggily and Smoothie running away. Wiggily gets himself over to the pit, but it's a double kill for PowerOfEvil as Ruin also falls to solo. Wiggily the only one left alive. I mean, Wiggly's going to try a sail, but...
Yeah, I don't think he's got much left in the tank. The respawn timers are too long. I think FlyQuest has one CLG, it looked like. With the anti-synergy, they're split up. Pobelter and Ruin were off by themselves. Stixxay was way down into the river, too far away to actually contribute to the fight. And then as Wiggily is engaging on PowerOfEvil, it looked like he would have actually potentially hit the flag and drag. He gets ulted by Bard.
And now it's no hope at all. There's the ace, finally, the Bud Light ace of Santorin will put the cap on the last kill needed. FlyQuest didn't even need it as they'll smash down the Nexus, and a back and forth battle, but FlyQuest, it felt like they got ahead and stayed